Shabbos, Mishnah Shabbos, Mishnah.
Perek Yud Beis Mishnah Daled. HaKosev Shtei Oisiyos Behelam Echod Chayiv. He writes two oises. We had before Barichos with all the different variations that the shear of Ksiva is B'Shtei Oises. Behelam Echod means it's in one halama, one forgetting. We had a similar halacha before by Zrika, where somebody's throwing something that the whole mice has to be B'Shgogo Achas in order to be Chayiv. Kosav, B'Dyoy, B'Sam is just a different type of ink. Dyoy is the regular, what we would call black ink. Sam is a type of earth that they turned into more of a reddish brownish tint. Sikra is mamish red. It says by Maisa Behemoth that they would brand the behemoths Assyria Kodesh. It was called Sikra. Sikra is red paint. Kumus is something that's sap of a tree. They fataj gumi, which means rubber, and it has something that could be turned into a writing form. Kankantoim is a paint that's made from some type of, it's produced from iron. Ubechol dover shu roishim, anything that leaves a roishim, but it has to be a midi de miskayemes, disappearing ink, not. Maybe the other knows that in Eretz Yisrael, some of the hospitals where they want to make writing for the nurses, they have to write on the charts what's going on with choloim sheyesh b'hem sakonim, but they wanted to make. So today you have Arabs that'll do the writing for the Eden. But b'mokum atzoyrich, what they did was they used ink that will fade after a day. So, and then after Shabbos they'll write it over. So such a writing at least is only derabanan. It's not deraisa. It's not a b'dim miskayemes. Al shnei kostlei zovis, on two walls. He wrote a letter on each wall, but even when they read together. Shnei luches pinkis is on two pages in one notebook. Ve'hen negim zemzeh. If they read together, they can be considered one writing. So there the halacha is chayiv. Hakoisev al b'soroi, with ink. He writes with regular ink on his hand. Chayiv. Hamisoret al b'soroi. As kids sometimes say, something was written on their hand, they're never gonna wash their hand again. So it could be a midi in the sky. Misoret al b'soroi, somebody was scratched in. It's like tattooing. So he makes tzura. So he says, "So b'lezem achayiv chatos, Rabbi Yeshua poiter." Lezer holds that's writing because people do it. Otherwise, it's a midi in the sky. Rabbi Yeshua says that ma'aser srita, which is tattooing, is not a ma'aser ksiva. Mepharshim point out from the Gemara that even if it draws blood, this tattooing, that certainly is not chayvan, because the drawing blood is a psikresha d'lo nichale. However, the srita, that you can be chayvan, but that's machlokes tanoim. We'll just point out that another sugya in Shas, we have all these halachas of ksiva that's miskayim, as well the different types of inks, is in the second perek in Gittin Legabi with what a get can be written. And the Gemara has a few brises that says this type of writing, this type of writing, not. The Gemara goes back and forth with steers between brises and the sugi over here, which inks are considered a form of ksiva. Mishnah Hey, Kosav b'mashkin, he writes with some type of fruit juice. That's made peiros. Mashkin is something that's not light, it's something that's dark, maybe two different types of fruits. Either one is not a midi dimiskai. Bavak drochim, or with dust, where it's not going to last. Bavak hasoifrim, he writes, they had some type of dust that was on the pen, on the quill of the sofer, on the inkwell, crusted, dried ink. So that's also not going to last. But chol dover she'enim miskayim, the halach is potter. La'achar yodoi, he wrote with his hand backwards, b'ragloi, b'piv, b'marpukoi, his mouth, his elbow, his leg. Kosav ois achas somach l'ksov, or he wrote one letter next to something else that was written. He's mashlam a word, true, but he didn't write two letters. Ksov al gabe ksov. Ksav al gabe ksav, the second one is not a writing. The skaven lichtev ches v'kosav shnei zaynin. Ches in Ksav Ashuras is written like two zayins with a crown on top. So he didn't make the crown. Instead of writing ches, he wrote 2 zaynim. So there for sure, he's not writing one letter. The 2 letters that he wrote is a product of not writing the 1 letter that he wanted to write. Echad ba'aretz ve'echad b'koira. One of them is on top of a wall, one's on bottom, where they're not read together. Kosval shnei kois lebayis, where they're not at a perfect angle, they're not read together. Or shnei dape pinkis, again, in contrast to what we said in the ratio, where they're not meant to be read together. Ve'ein negen zeh b'zeh, zeh b'zeh, the halacha is potter. All this is not considered writing 2 letters. Kosav ois achas nutrikun. What happens if he writes a letter with a streichel? When you write a hey with a little line, what you mean to write is Hashem. Everybody writes like that. So the hey with that little line, it's not a second ois, but what it is a simon that you're really writing something longer. Rabbi Yeshua Meseir Mechayev, it doesn't have to be 2 oises. It has to be an intelligent form of communication, which is not 1 letter. But over here, the 1 letter is because he wrote the streichel. The way it is in the Malachas HaMishkan was writing 2 letters. You need the chshivus, the maisa of writing 2 letters. Taziyana makes the point that, of course, this 1 letter being really 2 because it stands for something is totally in each place, lefi the understanding that exists in that place. That's the Chayr Pashut. The Nekuda of the Machlokes, Rabbi Yehuda ben Beser and the Chachamim, is really a lamdish Machlokes. When somebody does something and the Shem HaMelocha is doing it in a certain way. Over here, the Shem HaMelocha is Koisiv Shtei Oisius. Now, you're writing something, you're not doing the Ganze Maisa Ksiva, but you're doing it in a way that brings out the effect of a small word. When you write a hey with the Shteichel, you're not writing 2 letters, but you're writing something in a way that means 2 letters. Is it enough, Isavet Machshavtoi? Or do you need also that the Maisa should be Kitsurasa? Now, L'chor Melecha Shabbos, there is nothing against the letter being written. The point is, you're not allowed to do a Maisa Ksiva. So the Maisa Ksiva Shtei, why not? So, Avada where something is not a Maisa at all, or it's a Maisa, Groma, it doesn't have a Tsura of a Maisa, then Avada you won't be chayiv even if at the end of the day, L'moshul, person could put on Shabbos, put on a light by tripping a circuit thing that makes the light go on 2 hours later. It's a groma, not called you did the Maisa. You're not allowed to do it midrabanan, but the Maisa, it's not called the Maisa of putting on the light. Why? Because it's only a groma. When you're doing it, you know that Yis Avid Machshavta and the light will turn on, the teretz is, but you're not chayiv just on the effect. You're chayiv on the Maisa. So why over here is worse? You have to say because over here the Maisa is a Maisa. The point is that when the Maisa is not exactly Kitsuros or Koisiv Shteoisis, over here you're writing 1 letter plus a little line. Since there is a Maisa, that Maisa, since it will mean that effect of 2 oisiers, so in the 1 ois ligs that you're really writing 2 oisiers. That's the way one has to explain over here. The Chiddush of the Mishnah, and even that's Machlokes Tanan, the Maisa. Chacham the Maisa, holy pot. It's not the Maisa of writing 2 oisiers.